When the doorbell rang that morning, it didn't sound like a visitor. It sounded like a claim. 8:06 a.m., Bergen County, New Jersey. My kitchen was warm, but the words on my table felt like winter. We deserve everything, so sign it, Joanne. Stephen Ross said it like he was reading a receipt, not speaking to a widow in her own home. Morning sun came through the blinds in pale stripes, landing across my oak table, right on the envelope in the center. Cream paper, a thin red ribbon, my husband's handwriting in the corner. The radiator clicked. The coffee maker hummed. My house tried to act ordinary, while a stranger's voice tried to take ownership of it. Stephen didn't ask to sit. He sat anyway. He leaned forward with the pen already uncapped, like my signature was a formality, like my grief had turned me into a shortcut. Behind him, two people I only vaguely recognized hovered near the doorway. They whispered like my kitchen was a waiting room. I didn't reach for the folder. I kept my hands around my mug, letting the heat remind me I was still here, still steady. People who rush you want your brain in panic mode, I told myself. My husband used to say that softly, like a warning. This is simple, Stephen said, voice lowering as if we shared a secret. No court, no drama, no outsiders. Just do the right thing. The right thing for who? I asked. Stephen's smile tightened. For the family, he said, like that word belonged to him. You don't need all of this. And you don't want people thinking you're being greedy. Greedy, that was the trap. If I fought emotionally, he'd call me unstable. If I stayed silent, he'd call me compliant. So I chose calm, factual resistance. I looked at the ribbon, slightly off-center. My husband tied ribbons straight, always. Someone had touched it. Stephen leaned closer. Stop stalling, he said. Sign it or we'll handle this the hard way. I didn't move toward the pen. I moved my gaze to the envelope. And in that small shift, I felt the room change, because Stephen wasn't looking at me anymore. He was looking at the will like it was already his. 8:19 a.m. The kettle clicked off, and the silence sounded expensive. The kitchen looked the same as every morning, towel folded, lemons by the window, a dusting of flour from biscuit dough I still make out of habit. But with Stephen in my chair, the room felt rented. Like my home was a place I was allowed to occupy until someone important arrived. He spoke to me like a problem to be managed. Probate, fees, taxes, and the word he kept repeating was now. Before outsiders get involved, he said. Outsiders, meaning witnesses, meaning paper trails he couldn't control. Then he tried to isolate me without saying alone. Don't call anyone, he said. Keep it private. Private. A soft word with sharp edges. Privacy is what predators call secrecy when it benefits them. I reached out, slow, deliberate. Not for the pen, for the envelope. Joanne, Stephen warned, voice low, don't. I met his eyes. This is my husband's will, I said. And before I sign anything, I'm going to read what he left behind. His smile froze because he didn't know what it would say. 8:33 a.m. I held the ribbon like it was a pulse. My husband wasn't loud love. He was steady love. He showed it by fixing the loose step before I tripped, by paying bills early, by planning for storms before the sky changed. That's why the will mattered, because the man I married didn't leave suggestions, he left structure. Over the years, I watched grief teach people a dark lesson. When you lose someone, Others start treating you like an opportunity. Stephen Ross was that lesson in a suit. He arrived too fast, smiled too hard, asked helpful questions that always circled the same thing: control. My husband once said in the car, "That one counts other people's money in his head." Near the end, when my husband was sick, Stephen visited once. He stood in our doorway, glanced around like he was taking measurements, and said, "If you need help with the documents, I can streamline it." My husband answered, polite and final, "We already handled it." Now Stephen sat in my chair, hungry for the words my husband left behind. I broke the seal. The flap opened with a soft rip that sounded too loud in my quiet kitchen. Stephen leaned in. "Read the part that matters," he said. "The distribution." I read the first sentence that mattered. It says, "My home remains mine to live in." Stephen's smile stalled, like a machine catching on a gear. "No," he said too quickly. "Keep reading." His finger landed on the page, pressing near a paragraph like he could steer the truth away from me. "That part is just language," he said. "What matters is the end." I slid the page away from his finger. "Don't," I said quietly. Because the first betrayal is interruption. The moment someone refuses to let you understand, that's when theft begins. I kept reading. Specific bequests, a small account for our granddaughter, tools to the neighbor who helped him, a donation to the pantry. And then the line Stephen wanted, Executor Stephen Ross. But it wasn't power. It was duty, a job, with limits. Stephen swallowed once. "Joanne," he said, softening, "executors make decisions. We streamline. We protect you from paperwork." Protect you. Another soft word, another leash. Then I found the lock my husband built. No contest clause, plain words, hot consequences. Anyone who pressured, manipulated, or challenged the will in bad faith risked losing what they were meant to receive. Stephen's chair scraped the tile. "That clause is outdated," he said fast. He reached for the pages. "Let me explain." "No," I said, louder, but still calm. "You're not taking my husband's words out of my house." His mask slipped. "You don't understand how this works," he said. "Drag this out and you'll lose money. Fees, taxes, delays. You'll end up with nothing but stress." Then he said it again like scripture. "We deserve everything. You're just the widow living in it." Widow. Like I was temporary. He leaned in close. "Sign what we bring and you'll be comfortable," he hissed. "Fight us and we'll make you look confused. We'll tell the court you can't manage. We'll say you're not fit." There it was. Not inheritance. Control. I saw his phone, flash draft message ready to send, a name at the top, a network behind the smile. I reached for my own phone. Stephen snapped, "Don't." He wasn't afraid of me. He was afraid of witnesses. 9:17 a.m., I called my attorney. The line rang once, twice, each ring a small act of resistance. Stephen watched my face like a gambler waiting for me to fold. "He says he deserves everything," I told my attorney, "and he's threatening to say I'm confused." My attorney didn't gasp, he got procedural. "Do not sign anything," he said. "Do not hand anyone the original. If there are others involved, we treat this as coercion. Are people coming?" I looked out the window. A dark car pulled up. Then another. Doors closing with the quiet certainty of people who believe they belong wherever they arrive. A woman in a blazer with a folder, a man carrying a scanner case, and Marlene Stevens' cousin smiling like this was a family favor. The doorbell rang twice, short, confident. Stephen walked to my door like he owned it. Then my blood went cold. He unlocked my deadbolt with my key ring. My charm swayed as the lock turned. "How did you get that?" I whispered. "We made a copy earlier," he said, casual. "You forget things. This is why we handle it." He opened the door. They stepped in without invitation. Perfume, cold air, wool coats. My hallway narrowed around their bodies. "Mrs. Parker," the blazer woman chirped, "we're here to finalize administration. Just a few signatures. Very standard." Standard, again. The scanner case clicked open on my entry table like surgery. Marlene came close, voice syrup. "Joanne, honey, don't make this ugly. We all need closure." My attorney said, "Speaker, now." I set my phone on the console. The tiny speaker became a spotlight. "This is counsel," my attorney said. "Identify yourselves and state your purpose." Stephen snapped, "This is family business." My attorney stayed calm. "If it's family business, put it in writing. No scanning, copying, removing, or altering documents. Leave now. All contact goes through my office." The scanner man froze. The blazer woman looked at Stephen like she needed permission. That was the tell. Stephen pointed toward my kitchen. "Bring it out," he ordered. "We're doing this." I stepped between them and the hallway. "No one goes past me," I said. Stephen leaned in low. "We already filed to be executor. Once the court signs it, you don't have a choice." My attorney's voice cut through. "Ask for the docket number. Ask for a judge-signed order. If they don't have it, they're trespassing." Stephen moved close enough to poison the air. "We can make you disappear in court," he whispered. "You'll look unstable. You'll lose." I didn't argue. I turned my camera on and started recording. Stephen snapped, "Stop that." "Keep recording," my attorney said, "and tell them to leave." I drew one slow breath. Everyone here needs to leave my home. Now. Nobody moved at first. Then the blazer woman shifted. The scanner case began to close. Marlene's smile curdled. Stephen stared at my phone like it was a weapon, because it was. And then my porch boards creaked again. 9:26 a.m. Betrayal number 3 didn't argue. It arrived with a clipboard. 2 men stepped into my doorway with lanyards and badge-like clips. One held a thick folder. The other held a clipboard and pen poised like a needle. "We're here regarding a welfare and competency concern," the taller one said. Flat, procedural. Stephen's tone turned sweet, worried the perfect performance for strangers. "Thank God," he said. "She's been confused, refusing help, recording people. We're worried she's being manipulated." My attorney's voice came through the speaker, calm but sharp. "Do not answer competency questions. Ask for identification and legal basis." I lifted my chin. "Who are you with? And do you have a court order?" They said Adult Protective Services. They flashed IDs too quickly. They admitted no court order. Stephen hissed to me, low. "This is where you cooperate or they take you somewhere." Somewhere. A facility. A room where your rights get managed. I kept my voice level. "No court order means you can leave," I said. "I'm safe. I have counsel, and I'm requesting you document that family members are pressuring me to sign away inheritance." That sentence changed the air. The clipboard pen paused. The taller man's eyes flicked to Stephen like he saw him for the first time. Stephen lost control for a beat. "You're old," he hissed. You'll forget, and when you do, we'll take it anyway." The clipboard scratched hard. My attorney said, quiet and dangerous, "Repeat that." I looked Stephen dead in the eyes. "Say it again," I said softly. He didn't. Instead, he lunged toward my papers. I slapped my hand over the envelope. "Don't touch it." The apps man stepped forward. "Sir, step back from the doorway." Stephen stepped back half a foot. Half a foot was enough. The door frame was mine again. The apps worker asked, "Do you feel threatened?" I answered like courts like it. "I feel pressured, I feel coerced, and I want everyone here to leave my home immediately." That's what predators hate, clean language. Marlene pulled Stephen's sleeve. The blazer woman retreated. The scanner man left fast. The apps men lingered long enough to watch them exit and give me a report number. Stephen paused at the threshold. "We'll be back," he promised. I didn't answer. I held the will to my chest like a heartbeat. 11:58 a.m. After they left, the house sounded like it was breathing again. Only then did my hands shake, not during, after. My attorney stayed on speaker. "Now we switch from survival mode to documentation mode," he said. I pulled out a yellow legal pad and wrote, "Timeline, facts only. Dates, times, names, equipment, copied key, scanner, apps visit, no court order. Feelings are real, but liars twist feelings. Facts don't bend as easily." Then I took screenshots of every text and voicemail timestamp. I printed them, stapled them, and wrote dates in thick marker. The goal was simple: build a paper trail faster than their story before they could edit their version. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You can still do this peacefully." Another buzz. "Stop making problems. We deserve everything." I forwarded both to my attorney, because predators hate two things: witnesses and timestamps. That night, I didn't sleep. I made copies of my recording and uploaded them, 2 places, then emailed the links to my attorney, not because I trusted the cloud, because I didn't trust the people who wanted my silence. I filed a police report for the copied key and unauthorized entry. The officer was polite, tired, and careful with his words, but he wrote it down. Copied key, uninvited entry, pressure to sign, and that report number became another anchor, another time stamp they couldn't rewrite. My attorney's voice hardened. "They're escalating," he said. "Today, they use shame. Next, they'll use paperwork. We move the original will now, and you change your locks today." Today. Before noon, a locksmith came. Not later, not tomorrow. Today. He looked at the copied keyring, then at the lock, and his expression changed. "That's a clean copy," he said. "Someone had access for more than a minute." He replaced the deadbolt, the knob lock, and the strike plate. Longer screws, fresh metal, a door that finally sounded like mine again when it closed. While he worked, I walked room to room with a small notebook and did something grief never teaches you to do. I audited my own life. Where are the documents? Where are the passwords? Who has keys? Who has access? Who knows routines? I found spare keys in a drawer near the back door keys I hadn't touched in years. My husband must have hidden them for emergencies. I put them in an envelope, wrote the date on the front, and handed them to the locksmith to destroy. Then my attorney told me the sentence that changed the whole fight: move the original. Not to a closet, not to a shoebox, not to a drawer that family can help clean later. We drove to the bank with the will in a sealed folder, my attorney on the phone the whole time. The parking lot looked normal: cars, shopping carts, people carrying bags. but my body felt like it was carrying a target. Inside, I rented a safe deposit box, 2 keys, one for me, one held by my attorney in his office safe. The teller asked if I wanted to add an authorized user. I said no, so clearly she didn't ask again. On the way out, my attorney said, "Predators don't need your whole house. They need the one document that changes the map." Back home, I didn't sit down. I walked outside and spoke to my closest neighbor quietly, directly. I didn't gossip, I didn't plead, I set a boundary. "If anyone comes to my door saying they're helping," I said, "please note the time and call me. And if you see anyone trying my locks, call police." My neighbor's face tightened. He nodded once. "Understood," he said. And for the first time all day, I felt a layer of protection that wasn't paper. That word hit me like a rule. You don't wait for the second crossing to act. 12:17 p.m. The doorbell rang again like it owned my porch. 2 strangers stood outside with clipboards. Behind them, half in my driveway, was Stephen, not close enough to be aggressive, close enough to be felt. I stayed behind the door, chain on, deadbolt on. "Leave it at the door," I said. "All contact goes through counsel." A process server slid papers through my mail slot. They landed with a soft slap on my hallway floor. Stephen leaned closer to the door and muttered, "You're making yourself look pathetic." Then louder for neighbors, "Sign the waiver, and we'll let you stay in the house for now." Let me stay in my home. My attorney's voice on speaker was calm as a blade. "That statement is coercive. You have no authority over occupancy." Stephen laughed. "Nasty. She doesn't have money to fight us." And that's when I understood the real strategy. Drain me, tire me out, make my age the timer. I picked up the papers only after the cars left. The top line read, "Notice of intent to petition for emergency relief." Emergency relief, a soft phrase that means they're trying to remove you. My attorney didn't flinch. "Good," he said. "Now we know the next move, and we get there first." Longer pause. 3:46 p.m., Hackensack, New Jersey. The courthouse hallway smelled like toner and old anxiety. Fluorescent lights, beige walls, shoes squeaking on tile, a printer coughing paper like it was tired of human problems. My attorney walked beside me like a metronome. "We don't argue with emotion here," he said. "We argue with records, dates, messages, patterns." At the clerk window, he slid our papers forward. "Expedited administration," he said. "Interim protective relief for the residents." The clerk tapped keys, then looked up. "You're late," she said flatly. "There's already a filing attached." Late. Time used as a weapon. "Show us," my attorney said. The clerk turned her monitor. "Emergency petition, filed this morning, alleged incapacity, undue influence, temporary control of assets and residence for safekeeping." Soft words, sharp teeth. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Pack what you want. Sheriff comes tomorrow." My breath caught. My attorney nodded once. "Forward that. That's intimidation." He wrote the time down like he was pinning a lie to a board. "A sheriff doesn't remove someone because a man texts it," he said. "A sheriff follows an order. We'll make sure no order exists without you being heard." Across the hallway, Stephen Ross appeared like he owned the oxygen. Crisp jacket, confident pace, a smile too bright for a place where people usually look humbled. He walked toward us. "Joanne," he said softly, "you should have listened. We offered the peaceful way." My attorney stepped between us. "No contact," he said. Stephen leaned sideways, trying to aim around the boundary. "You're going to lose everything," he whispered. I didn't raise my voice. "The will said otherwise," I said calmly. Then my attorney's phone rang. He listened 2 seconds. His face tightened into focus. He turned his screen toward me, an attachment on Stephen's petition. Revised will. Final. The hallway noise faded, because I knew what that meant. He wasn't just claiming he deserved everything, he was claiming my husband said he did. 4:12 p.m., my husband's name looked unfamiliar on that screen. The signature. Wrong. Not the rhythm of my husband's hand, not the pressure of his pen. The date said it was signed 6 weeks before he died, during hospice, when medication kept him drifting. My attorney didn't comfort me with softness. He gave me structure. "We decide with evidence," he said. "Witness lines, notary block, dates." The notary name matched the notary on the emergency petition. "Same hinge," my attorney said. "We requested certified copies. We requested commission status. We requested the notary journal entry." And when the commission database came back, my attorney stopped walking. "The notary on Stephen's revised will," he said, "is listed as inactive." Inactive. A crack big enough for truth to walk through. Next morning, Bergen County Surrogate's Court. The courtroom smelled like paper, cologne, and people pretending. Stephen sat 2 rows ahead, shoulders relaxed on purpose, but his fingers tapped his knee fast, like his body wanted to run, while his suit stayed seated. The judge entered without drama, just presence. The room obeyed her the way bodies obey gravity. Stephen's attorney stood, polished and confident. "Your Honor, the decedent executed a revised will." "Stop," the judge said, not loud, final. "I want foundation," she said. My attorney stood. "Your Honor, we contest the revised will on improper execution, undue influence, and suspected fraud." He placed the commission record on the clerk's desk. The notary listed was inactive before the signing date. Stephen shifted, just a fraction, but I saw it. The judge looked up. "Mr. Ross, stand." Stephen stood, smoothing his jacket like he could iron fear out of fabric. "Yes, Your Honor." "Were you present when the decedent signed this revised will?" Stephen tried to perform. "I was helping the family through a difficult time." "That is not an answer," the judge said. "Were you present?" "Yes," he said. "And the notary was the notary present?" "Yes," Stephen said again. The judge read the record, then looked up. "Explain how an inactive notary notarized a will." Stephen tried to shrug it off. "I'm not a notary," he said. "I don't know their paperwork." My attorney stepped forward. "Exactly. That's why we subpoena the journal, ID logs, and witnesses. Because this paperwork isn't working, it's being used." The judge issued temporary restraint. No transfers, no withdrawals, no access by Stephen pending authentication. Then she ordered preservation. Notary journal, witness identification, communications. And she looked at Stephen like a warning. "If these documents are fraudulent, consequences extend beyond this court." Beyond this court. Referrals, investigations, criminal exposure. In the hallway after, my attorney's phone buzzed. He went still. "The subpoena response is in," he said. "The notary journal entry exists." He swallowed once. and it lists a signer ID. That isn't yours. The scanned journal page showed a scribbled signature pretending to be me, and beside it an ID number, not mine, not even close. Stephen appeared down the hall, trying to regain humiliation. "You still chasing ghosts, Joanne?" he called out. My attorney answered for me. "The signer ID does not match Mrs. Parker. Clerical errors don't invent identity." Stephen's face went blank for a beat. Not confusion, fear. A court investigator stepped out of a side room, calm and focused. "Mr. Ross," she said, "no contact. Any further contact is a violation." She requested preservation of phones and communications under the court's order. Stephen snapped, "This is harassment." The investigator didn't blink. "No," she said. "This is accountability." Stephen retreated, not with apology, with calculation. My attorney looked at the journal again. "It also lists the witness names," he said. "And one witness is someone you know." Longer pause. That afternoon at home, my hands wouldn't stop shaking, not because I was weak, because trust had been used like a tool. My attorney said, "Careful, we do this clean. We don't accuse, we ask for truth, and we record." The next hearing wasn't fireworks, it was oath. The witness took the stand. Someone who had hugged me at the funeral and said, "Call me if you need anything." My attorney asked, gentle and precise, "Did you see Joanne sign anything?" The witness swallowed. "No." "Did Stephen Ross ask you to say you did?" A long pause, then a nod. "Yes." Stephen's jaw tightened like he was chewing on pride. His lawyer tried to object. The judge said, "Overruled." My attorney held up the original will like a compass. "Your Honor, this is what the deceased chose. This is what Mr. Ross tried to override with intimidation." The judge looked at Stephen. "This court finds no ambiguity in the will," she said. "And this court finds troubling evidence of coercive behavior and attempted manipulation. Distribution proceeds exactly as written. No further contact outside counsel. Fees awarded due to misconduct. Referral ordered for review of fraudulent representations." Stephen tried one last hiss in the hallway. "You think you won?" I didn't give him a scene. I gave him a sentence. "The will wasn't mine to give you," I said. Outside, the air tasted cold and clean. I made tea. I sat at my kitchen table. The house hummed the way it always had. And I want you to hear this, if you've ever felt rushed, shamed, or isolated. They don't win because they're stronger. They win because they hurry you. They win because they make you feel guilty for needing clarity. They win because they convince you silence is peace. See? But the truth doesn't need you to be loud. It needs you to be clear. Ask for copies, ask for names, ask for dates, put everything in writing, bring witnesses, bring counsel, record when they try to make you feel crazy for protecting your life. Because the moment you add light, their control starts to starve. And when someone looks at your age and mistakes it for weakness, remember what my husband left me in ink and structure. The will said otherwise.